Buon Natale. It's Patrick here from A Guide to Italy. And today I'd like to talk to you about five top Italian traditions for Christmas. And I think a great way to start is looking at this absolutely gorgeous picture here of the Vatican. And we can see the very first tradition right here. In fact, if you look down kind of towards the middle of this picture here, you will see a nativity scene. And in fact, these are really common throughout Italy. They're known as presepe, nativity scenes. And this photo makes me laugh a little bit. It's from Naples. And if we look here, we see a sign that's pink that says no China, meaning not from China, because I guess a lot of these do come in from in China or they're imported. But these are artisanal, they're handcrafted. And right around the end of November and certainly around December 8th, which is the feast of the Immaculate Conception, we start to see Italians putting up their Christmas trees, wrapping presents, putting out these absolutely gorgeous nativity scenes in their homes, these smaller versions, but we see larger ones too. Like right here, we can see a very large nativity scene that you would typically see in front of a church. You might see them in a piazza as well. And probably my favorite thing is you'll see Italians in villages and communities get together and actually dress up like characters from the Nativity. So they'll be dressed like Mary and Joseph and shepherds, and they will have, in some cases, actually actual farm animals with them. So they might have sheep and donkeys, and they will act these out. And people from the town and the village, the communities come out and they observe them. And it's really a wonderful thing to be a part of. So if you get a chance, you definitely want to check one out. Another tradition are the markets. So really all throughout cities and towns, you'll find small and large Christmas markets with artisanal crafts, with other gifts that you can buy, with different foods. And you might find vendors serving up glasses of vin brûlé or mulled wine that you can enjoy as you wander around and really enjoy this Christmas atmosphere. I mean, I love this street right here. It's decorated with these stars and these lights. The windows you'll find have beautiful displays. So this is something that I think is just really a jewel of Italy. To go to these markets and wander around the streets, particularly in the historic centers, you'll see these sort of decorations. But even in some of the silent corners of these towns and smaller villages, you'll find streets like this, where there's just this soft glow of lights. It's peaceful, it's silent, and you can just enjoy an otherworldly atmosphere that really brings you into the Christmas spirit. But while you're wandering around, do one of my favorite things and grab some chestnuts. Roast chestnuts are something you find typically at these markets. They're warm, so it's fun to kind of walk around. It's cold out, and then munch on some nice crunchy chestnuts that are a bit hot. It's just a fun thing to do. So another thing that you'll see in an Italian Christmas setting. Now we also have Mass. Mass. Now many Italians, of course, the majority of Italy is Catholic, but they don't all go to Mass anymore. In fact, there's been a pretty big decrease in the amount of Italians who go to Mass. But Christmas Eve still stands pretty strong, and that's a time when Italians typically go to Mass, young and old alike. And once Mass is over, they might come back and have a toast with some spumante and perhaps open up some Christmas gifts at that time. Now, before the Mass, though, there will be a dinner, and some folks actually make it after the Mass too. But traditions really vary across Italy, and that's what I'm going to point out in the next slide when we talk about food. Because in North America, many people think about the Feast of the Seven Fishes, which is an Italian American tradition. In Italy, that's not really so much the case. Yes, fish is eaten, particularly on Christmas Eve, and particularly in central Italy and more southern Italy. Certainly, it's eaten there. And it tends to be a really big feast in southern Italy, the Christmas Eve. And Christmas Day is a bit lesser or a smaller feast in southern Italy. Now, when you get to northern Italy, that's flipped. Christmas Eve isn't as big of a deal, and Christmas Day is really the main event. Northern Italy, rather than eating fish, like here we see spaghetti alle vongole, we see a clam spaghetti. They're probably not going to eat that in northern Italy on Christmas Eve. They may have the lasagna. May have some meats and other things like that. And then Christmas Day, we may find that certain regions in Central Italy may eat tortellini and broth, or they may have lasagna, or they may have a lot of vegetables and maybe eel or something like this in Southern Italy. I know that my family tends to eat bacala and ceci on Christmas Eve. Bacala is a dried salted cod that you rehydrate and you cook it and you mix it with chickpeas. So there's so many traditions. They're so varied, but I would say there's one that's pretty common throughout all of Italy, and that is the tradition of having panettone. This is a picture of a panettone. It's a sweet bread, and it has candied fruits in it. Sometimes it has raisins in it, and it's typical to have this. And there's also another version called panduro, which is a version without the fruit. It's a bit of a more simple version. And it's typical to have this, pass this around with some spumante. And you might also, spumante, which is the sparkling wine, kind of Italian champagne. And you might also have some tarone, which is nougat. So it's like a big block of mix of honey and egg whites and sugar and nuts that are mixed together. Sometimes it's chocolate flavored or has orange zest in it, kind of the flavors that you're going to have around the Christmas season. And you may have some of that, some dried fruits, some nuts, typical things that you would find at an Italian Christmas celebration, regardless of where you are in the country. Now, let's talk about the last Italian tradition, and there are many others, but the last big one, I think, which is the La Befana. So, La Befana is the Italian Christmas witch. Well, she comes on Epiphany, which is in January. And legend has it that she was an old woman who was going to adore the Christ child. And along the way, she stopped at the houses of the good children and left some nuts or some dried fruits, really things that were treats back in the days when there was less money and there weren't it was harder to get sweets and things like this around. Today, children can expect her to fly in their house at night and leave some fill their stockings with some candy or maybe a lump of coal. We hope not a lump of coal. And so that's La Befana. But these are just a few of the Christmas traditions that we have in Italy. There certainly are many more. And I wish you, wherever you spend it, a Buon Natale, a Merry Christmas. And I hope that someday your travels take you to Italy and you can enjoy many of these traditions yourself. Hey, if you liked the video and you want to learn some more, check out my book, A Guide to Italy, Cultural Insights and Tips to Maximize Your Trip. Ciao.